Hello and welcome to the Scale Modelling Cafe, and welcome to part one of what is going to be hopefully quite a short series and on this new build. Right, so just to put things in sort of new chronological order, that's the word I'm looking for. Currently, as I'm filming this, beginning in May 2023, I have had to pause the current project, which is the Tsukimura F4C Phantom, because I'm still waiting the masks. Unfortunately, they didn't arrive in time, and now I'm back out in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be a few weeks before I can get them. Therefore, what I decided to do was an interim project just to keep some modelling content up on the channel, and that project is this. This is grabbing a white box, a plain white box. This is an Eduard Overtrees, and it is the ME 109G-14 AS. Now, I love the 109 as a modelling project because just the variety of colour schemes is pretty impressive actually, and especially the late war, where there were lots of different sort of sub-assemblies of airframes smashed together, and really very interesting, and also some great weathering potential. Therefore I chose this one. More on the colour schemes though in a little bit later. Overtrees, I've done a separate video on Overtrees and why I love them so much, so you can go and watch that. I'll stick that on a card at the end of the video. But back to this one. If you haven't seen one of these part one videos, introductions before, it's quite a short video, and all I'll do is just talk through what I'm planning for the actual project and some of the aftermarket bits, because I'm a big fan of the aftermarket and I tend to use quite a bit where I can. For this kit, the aftermarket, I've actually started the model. I filmed this before I started. However, there was a few technical glitches, and I only realised when I came to start editing the other day. I realised some of the footage was corrupted and stuff, which is a pain. So I'm having to refilm it. Therefore, some of the aftermarket bits and pieces are actually already in the model. And in fact, here is the model. I've done the cockpit and stuck it into the right-hand fuselage half. Some of the aftermarket stuff that's gone in here is I've got the Eduard Space set and the Red Fox Studios instrument panel. My sort of go-to for Eduard these days is a set of Overtrees, which are really relatively quite cheap, and the Eduard Space set. In the Eduard Space set, you get the 3D printed decals for the instrument panels and various control boxes, things like that, and also some of the more important photo etch stuff, harnesses and some cockpit detail. And I think that's a great combination. The reason I've got the Red Fox Studios set as well is very kindly Red Fox Studios asked me if I wanted any products to feature on the channel. And as I knew I was going to be doing this one at some stage soon-ish, I asked for the G6 AS. Essentially, it's the same as the 14 AS. If there's any differences, they're going to be very minor. So I didn't really worry too much about that. Hence, I've got that. And I think it blows any of the 3D printed decal stuff out of the water. I really do. The quality is a step up, in my opinion. Therefore, that's why I'm using that. So that's the aftermarket stuff in the cockpit, and as you see, that's done. What I'll do, I'll just put that to one side. These are the instructions to the space set. Just having a quick look here. The first bit is the seat harness and some other photo etched detail in the cockpit. Some of it's colour, some of it is not. And then on the back side there is the instrument panel itself, and then there's some aerials, grab handles for the windscreen, and some details in the canopy, which is quite nice. It's going to lift that really nicely. Right, some of the other aftermarket stuff down here that I haven't actually started yet. I've got a set of master barrels and pitot tube. The pitot tube is brilliant because it's incredibly fine. How they do these things, I have no idea. So that's going to be really nice. That's going to elevate the detail considerably. I've got a canopy mast set. Obviously you get this and the photo etch in the Profi pack. This is why I think it's such a good deal. But this set is the, what do they call it again? T-face. So that's masks for the outside, as you'd expect, but also the inside. And I tend to paint the inside of my canopies, especially if they're going to be open. I think just doing the outside and then painting the internal colour on the outside and then the camo over the top. When you look at the cockpit and the inside, it looks really weird actually, because you've got that sort of thick, clear bit and then the paint on the other side. Looks a bit odd. So I always paint the inside of my canopies where I can. So that's going to save me an awful lot of time. So I got that. Not that expensive. More Eduard goodies. This is the brass in exhaust set. The exhausts in the kit, they're solid. They're a little bit clunky. I think in the earlier kits, the F models and the early G models, the exhaust stubs themselves are just too fat. They're too wide and too flared. I think in this kit they look a lot better actually to my eye, but they are solid and a little bit clunky. And in this set, not only do you get hollow exhausts, you also get the photo etch blanking and whatever it is, shields or whatever, which is going to add that level of refinement. So I've got those. The last bit is from Barracuda Cast. Unfortunately, I don't have any of their wheels, which would have been nice, but these are the aileron mass balances. They always get knocked off, they always go missing. This is in quite a hard resin actually, and I'm hoping these are going to be a bit stronger. What I'm going to do also is paint up a couple of spares, because when I ship this back to the UK, when I go home, they are quite vulnerable and I might just lose them in the packaging. Therefore, I'm going to double-sided tape onto a bit of card, tape that to the inside of the box, and therefore I've got a couple of spares should I need them. So that's it for aftermarket for the actual model itself. Onto the markings, and I've got some Montex masks. Now, friend of the channel, Nige, normally does my masks for me. However, I had this in the stash, so I thought I'd use it. And two really nice schemes. I haven't really decided finally what I'm going to use. I think I'm going to do the German one, but there is a Croatian one as well, which is actually really quite nice. I think, though, to be honest, I'm leaning towards the German one. And the reason I'm leaning towards that one is it's got that unofficial, I think it's called the RLM 84, which is the sort of sky beigey type colour that replaced RLM 76, the light blue, which is quite cool. It's also the underside of the wings are metal, and I think that's going to be quite a nice contrast there, because I can already see on the instructions that the wingtips, the bottom of the ailerons and the flaps, the outer flaps, look like to be an RLM 76. In fact, they are RLM 76. So that's really quite cool. The upper surface, it looks like it's RLM 82 and 81. 81 is the sort of the reddy brown colour, and 82 is the lighter green. Now I'm not sure if that is correct, and it should be the darker green. So I don't know. I'm going to have a play. I might do brown and the 83, the darker green. There's a lot of confusion over 82 and 83. When the colours were first discovered, unfortunately, they had them the numbers the other way round, which has created confusion ever since, really. And it wasn't that long ago that it was all bowled out, and actually historians had realised a mistake had been made. Therefore, sometimes it can be a bit confusing to the colour scheme you like. So what I'm probably going to do is do RLM, I'm not even going to say it now, I'm going to say the darker green and the brown violet together. And anyway, that lower contrast I think looks better in my eyes. The sort of double green the 82 and 83, whichever way round it is, I think is more, you know, on your Arado 234s, your ME 262s, your the Dornier, the push me pull you thing, 335 is it, and those sorts of aeroplanes, and your traditional 109s. I'm not saying it never happened, far from it, but I think some of these sort of Frankenstein, if you like, model aeroplanes, maybe looking at photos, lower contrast, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's what I'm going to do, and if it's not accurate, it's not accurate, but I think it's going to make a nice model all the same. So that's going to be that. I thought about putting this into a little late war diorama. I've gone away against that, if I'm honest, because I would just want this to be a quick project, just to sort of shoehorn in, just to get some modelling content out there on the channel before the masks arrive in a few weeks, and then I can finish off the F4, and then I'm going to have a serious think about what I'm going to do after that. Maybe, I think, definitely a clear prop, or at least a couple of clear prop projects. We shall see. The weathering on this, it was a late war aeroplane, therefore it probably didn't last that long. The gouge on here says December 1945, so it's an abandoned aeroplane, but I'm going to assume it flew in combat right up to the end of the war. And when you look at some of the photos of some of the very late war 109s, the fuselages were black with exhaust, so I'm going to do heavy exhaust staining on this, and some quite some heavy weathering actually, because they had a really hard life, and obviously this one survived, so you know, who knows how long it was in combat for. No idea, but yeah, really looking forward to that. Sounds like I made a decision finally on exactly what I'm going to be doing, which option. There we go. The only thing I mentioned about these Eduard 109s are they're beautiful kits, but for me the oleos are overextended. So as I did on my, I did a couple of Fs last year, I am going to shorten the main oleos. It really does improve the whole stance and the whole look of the model. So that's the other thing. Now whether I'm just going to cut it down or replace the entire oleo with a bit of tubing, metal tubing or not, I really don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. There we go. Excuse me. So I'll wrap it up there. So in summary then, this is part one of the Eduard Me 109G-14 AS kit. It's the first late war AS kit I've ever built. Looking forward to it. Fantastic kit, lots of well, actually not that much aftermarket going into this, just enough to lift it up to the next level, I think. There we go, and looking forward to doing that paint job. It's going to be great fun, some modelling. I'll leave it there, and I'll see you in part two, where it'll be a video on this cockpit. There we are. I'll see you then. Cheers, bye-bye.